Magnus Walker, or as many of us know him as, the urban outlaw, and a media superstar. Oh, and he's a car collector. And he's done the unthinkable. He's bought the cheapest and most hated Porsche 911 ever built, the 996 Porsche 911. And in this video, we're gonna dissect exactly why he would do such a thing. Let's go! Now, before we dig into exactly why the man, the myth, the legend Magnus Walker pulled the trigger on a 996, this one specifically, where just after he bought it, he says, "Call me crazy, but I just bought a $5,000 2003 996. And yes, it's a running, driving car. We have to understand why the 996 was built in the first place. See, back in the late 90s, Porsche was building a limited number of air-cooled 911s called the 993. And Porsche had this grandioso idea. They realized that their 911 was extremely popular, so why not just mass produce them? So that's exactly what they did. But they did so by completely changing the heartbeat, the lifeline, the motor to a water-cooled version, which saying that pissed off some purists would be an understatement. When the 996 was introduced, some traditionalists said that it was the end of the true 911. God, how was that? But there was a completely logical reason as to why Porsche switched to water-cooled. After having badass air-cooled motors powering their cars for 34 years, Porsche had exhausted, see what I did there? The performance of an air-cooled motor. And with tighter emissions, noise regulations, and an expectation to create even higher performing engines, entering into the 2000s, the need to switch to a higher performing 4-valve per cylinder flat 6 water-cooled engine was the only viable option. Besides, that pinky lay completely redesigned the 996 911, and very little was carried over from the outgoing 993. And guess what? The dude won numerous international design awards for his work, which included a bigger, sleeker body pronounced by a more raked windshield, and on the inside, a more contemporary interior, and the first of its kind headlight design, which were brought over from this car, the Porsche GT1 concept car, which is easily one of the most extreme road-going Porsches of all time. I mean, how cool is that? That's the trickle-down effect in action for you. Wait, do you want me to say something more about those headlights? Well, okay, I mean, if you use your imagination and really dig deep, you could potentially see a couple of fried eggs staring back at you. But then again, maybe I'm just hungry and I need to eat some breakfast. And this t-shirt with the fried egg mobile on it easily gets the most comments at any car show, guaranteed. So if you want to see the other half of, you know what? Well, there's the other half for you. So if you want to buy one of these so I can finally afford a haircut, click up here, please. Seriously, it's a great shirt. Now, since Porsche was ready to mass produce the 996 and make a ton of money doing so, they had to take a play out of the Japanese auto manufacturer's playbook. And Toyota's trick for mass production is to share the same parts with different cars. So, parts built for the 996 911 would also be used on the lower tier 986 Boxster. And literally the front half of the 996 911 and the 986 Boxster are exactly the same. And you know what? It kind of pisses me off because I can never tell if it's a 911 or Boxster coming down the road. Now, that would have sucked if in 1999 you bought a brand new 911 and people thought that you paid half as much as you did because they thought it was a Boxster. Well, those are first world problems. Wait, speaking of problems, do we talk about the elephant in the room? IMS, RMS, LOL. Well, this is one reason this generation scares off a ton of people. And I think it's the main reason that these cars are still a really good value, if you can get over the headlights. And that's because of the intermediate shaft bearing that supports the intermediate shaft on the flywheel end of the motor. And that IMS bearing can and will fail. And in fact, about 10% of all cars are affected by this problem. And those cars are all 986 Boxster models, 987 Cayman and Boxster models up to engine number 615-04715, all 996 models, sans the GTs and the turbos, and the 997 3.6 liter with the M96/05 up to engine 695-0745. And when it fails, a teardown and rebuild of your engine is your only option. Ask me how I know. this exact thing happened to me. But hey, on the bright side, I got to invest $25,000 that I didn't have into a new 4-liter motor, and all is well. So the IMS issue is no joke, and don't be like me and go broke, especially on a YouTuber's income. And instead, do the preventative maintenance and spend the few $1,000s to get a new IMS bearing installed for worry-free motoring. Now, Porsche built a ton of 996s. In fact, from 1997 to 2005, they produced a total of 175,262 units. And when you compare that to the previous model, the air-cooled 993, they only built 68,029 from 1994 all the way to 1998. And a shameless plug, but if you'd like to check out more of that video and hear my thoughts on driving my dream air-cooled 911 turbo like an outlaw, check out this ideal vid. But if you're still here, the early 996.1s initially came in a coupe version and for topless motoring, a cabriolet. And both cars shared the exact same water-cooled power plant, a 3.4-liter flat six that tried its hardest to imitate the air-cooled 6, putting out 296 horses and 258 foot-pounds of torque, which was good for 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. And then, in 2002, the Carrera and Carrera 4 got an updated front end with clear turbo front lenses that thankfully helped make the 911 more distinguishable from its cheaper sibling, the Boxster. And in the same year, engine displacement of the M96 was bumped up to 3.6 liters, which was good for 320 horses and 273 foot-pounds of torque. So now that you have a better understanding as to what the 996 911 is and why Porsche built it, why did Magnus Walker, the urban outlaw, buy one? Well, there's 3 different reasons. First, back when little Magnus was just 10 years old, the little Walker fell in love with a white 1977 911 Turbo, which was the first Porsche that he saw, and it prompted him to write to Porsche asking for a job as a car designer. Porsche actually wrote back and told him to apply once he finished school, but life took him in a different direction. And it wasn't until he became a fashion mogul in the 90s that he realized his dream by purchasing his first Porsche 911 in Indian red. And ever since then, Magnus Walker has modified a lot of air-cooled Porsches. And some say that the reason that they've gone up so much in value is because of Walker. So since you've had so much success with those, it only makes sense that you'd be attracted to the redheaded stepchild of the 911 generations. And the least loved generation has depreciated so much that really the only way the prices can go are upwards. Just check out this graph of the values of the 996 over the past 2 years. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down, and the cars have appreciated just 2.6%. So over the next couple of years, if he puts his urban outlaw spin on his 996, I'm sure he will single-handedly increase demand for the 996 911, which brings me to my second point, and one that I can personally relate to as a creator. If you're not progressing, you're regressing. Magnus Walker has owned more than his fair share of air-cooled 911s, and modified each of them differently. The 996 presents a new untapped challenge for the man. He gets to take something that's uncool to so many enthusiasts and do something extravagant with it. But Magnus, promise me you won't safari it, because that's my idea. And lastly, the car was $5,000. I mean, who in their right mind would pass on a running, driving 911 for $5K? Which, I gotta say, Magnus, I zoomed in on your for sale ad. Your headlights are looking like this, but they could look like this. And lucky for you and everyone else that has grungy looking headlights, I made a video on how to make them look sparkly clean for less than 20 bucks. So click here, or check out what YouTube recommends you watch next. Oh, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe, but either way, you can't lose, and as always, keep living that ideal lifestyle.